Hi, my name is Matthew Wayne Selznick, and this is episode 7 of Writing Light. Every week I get in front of the camera and I talk to you about my progress, my process, discoveries and insights that I might have come across in the previous week's writing of the first draft of my second novel, a fantasy thriller called Light of the Outsider. Now, usually I start these off with a little progress report, and it occurs to me that last week in episode 6, I forgot to do that. The week before episode 5, I was actually out sick. And that week of being sick really knocked me off of my schedule and off of my plan. The goal was to have 80,000 words finished by the end of April 2011. At this moment, on March 19th, I am at 25,292 words. I'm averaging about 800 to 1,000 words every time I sit down and type. I need to do close to 1,400 every single day between now and the end of April if I'm going to make that original goal. I'm not sure that I will. How do I feel about that? Okay. I know that this book will be finished. I know that my goal of a first draft will come to pass. It's looking more like it might be the middle of May. I know that ultimately this book will be released in a variety of ways, more on that in a future episode, and that it's going to be one of 2 major creative projects that I complete in the year 2011. So I'm not terribly concerned. I think the most important thing is that I get back into a regular habit of writing like I had before I got sick, and that I just keep in the groove. So that's where things are progress-wise. Now I admit I had a pretty hard time coming up with, matter of fact I couldn't come up with, a subject to talk about in this episode of Writing Light, so I put it out there to Twitter, and the friend and colleague known on Twitter as Dan the Art Man suggested that I write about, well, what I'm going to call tools and traits. How I write, what I use, when I do it, etc., etc. Maybe this will be useful to you, and for everything that I mention here, I will have some links in the show notes at mattselznick.com where you can learn more about the various things that I'm going to talk about. So, when do I write? Well, usually in the evening, after getting home from work and walking the dog, and before seeing my girlfriend. I squeeze in an hour or so. Where do I do it? Usually, if I'm at my apartment, I do it standing at the same place I'm at right now, on the kitchen bar between my kitchen and my living room. I like writing standing up. Well, it's better for you, for one thing, physically. Spending a long time in a chair is just not good for your body at all, and I do that enough at my day job. So I write standing up. If I'm not in my apartment standing at the bar, then I might be in bed with a little lap desk doing that. Occasionally, if I'm feeling like I really need to force myself, that it's been a rough day or whatever, I will stop at a coffee house on the way home from work before I even get home, and I'll put in my hour there, just to make sure that I don't get home, walk the dog, and then just laze out. Now on Saturdays is usually the day that I record this video. Before I record the video, assuming I've gotten up early enough, I will go to a local coffee house here in Long Beach, California called The Library. And I will write there for, maybe a couple of hours, and oftentimes get the most done in that session as any session during the week. Okay, so that's the when and the where. I do all of my writing on a laptop that is just out of the frame of the video. It's a Fujitsu Lifebook. I'm reading this. A Fujitsu Lifebook A6020, which is from 2006, 2007, not top of the line by any means. It would be nice to have a nicer laptop, but this is what I use. It's running Windows Vista Home Premium. That is not an ideological choice, it's just a tool. So before folks start talking about different versions of Windows or using a Mac or Linux or whatever, stop. Doesn't matter, it's just a tool. Now as far as what I use when I write in terms of software, most of the writing of Light of the Outsider is being done in a software tool called YWriter. This is a great free piece of software created by a writer who is also a programmer. The company is called Space Jock Software, and again there will be a link to that and the other things that I mentioned in the show notes at mattselznick.com, so go there if you want to learn more about these things. YWriter is an outliner, and it has the ability to basically break down your manuscript into as many smaller pieces as you like. You can keep track of characters, locations, objects, thematic elements. I like it primarily because it makes a handy outliner, and it's visually very easy to only concentrate on the scene you're concentrating on. I know a lot of people swear by Scrivener, whether that's the Mac or PC version, and YWriter is similar. It's free, and it does the job. Having said that, I will say that I don't think that any one piece of software is going to do it for me when it comes to putting together the actual writing. I also use OpenOffice, which is the free and mostly open source version, sort of an Office suite. Think of it as an analog to Microsoft Office. So I oftentimes will break down scenes into a spreadsheet in OpenOffice Calc and use that to map things out a little bit. Of course, OpenOffice Writer, I will also use that as a standard word processor. If I want a full screen text writing environment with nifty manual typewriter sounds every time I click on the keyboard, I like a product called Q10. And then finally, for a project like this, for something like Light of the Outsider that takes place in a fully realized original secondary creation fantasy world, Photoshop is invaluable, and some world building tools like Fractal Terrains and Fractal Mapper. These are literally world-building tools used for mapping out the world from the global scale down to a few meters square. Very handy for visualization. I'm going down a list here, and I wrote the lists kind of as things come to me. In terms of sort of getting deep into the story and tools that help kind of help me analyze what it is I'm trying to say and what the point of the story is, thematically, as well as in terms of plot. I like a couple of tools. One is Contour, which is designed for screenplays, but is easily adaptable to any type of story you want to tell. It helps you to break down your story into several dozen beats that help you structure things. And every now and then I will dig out my old copy of Dramatica, which is a very involved story structure and story analyzing product that there's a bit of a learning curve to it, and it's not great for everything, but every now and again I'll use it on a project, and I used it on an earlier version of Light of the Outsider just to kind of make sure that I was looking at all the angles in terms of character interaction and thematic concerns. This is a fantasy thriller, but I am as concerned with theme and tone as I am with the action and the plot. Maybe we'll talk about that in another episode. Writing a book like this, where much of it depends on a lot of pre-work that involves understanding societies and civilizations, and especially the way Well, the way our genus seems to behave, books have been very helpful, and I continue to read books like these, but in particular, Guns, Germs, and Steel, Becoming Human, Self-Made Man and His Undoing, The Hunting Apes, and for not just storytelling, but also for understanding the way humans create stories. The Hero with a Thousand Faces, which really everyone should read at least once in their life. And many, many, many more books. There's a lot of world building that goes into this story that you may not see in Light of the Outsider, but it's there, and it's influencing things. And there was a lot of, well, I had to do a lot of research and study over the course of many years to really kind of grok this and make the Shaper's world, this fantasy setting, be as real to me as possible. So, there it is. Those are the tools, both current and past, and the environment that that I write in. If you would like links to all of these various things, please, you must visit mattselznick.com and look for this episode of Writing Light. For at least a week, it'll be right there at the top of the page. It should be very easy to find. And as always, I look forward to your comments and your feedback. And please, please do spread the word. And you know, if you would share this video on your Facebook page, if you would share it in a blog that you might have, or simply subscribe in YouTube and share it to your other YouTube friends, it will help. And if this is useful to you, please spread the word, please comment on every episode you watch, and let me know you're out there. Alright, thank you so much, and I will see you next week. My name is Wayne Selznick. Take care. Bye-bye.